Business Council told of progress towards elections in 2014. BSP robbery suspect escapes from Nosore Correction Centre. And new Rewanga buses to make travelling more comfortable. Good evening and welcome to FBC News. I'm Amrita Priyadarshini. One of the men allegedly involved in the robbery at BSP in Samambula has escaped. Police spokesperson Ananay Sora confirms that Deswar Dutt made his escape at 2:30 this afternoon. Dutt was the alleged getaway driver in this robbery on September 19th. He was in remand at the Nosore Correction Centre and jumped over the fence before getting into a vehicle that was waiting for him outside. Roadblocks have been set up at Langere, Dalainavesi and Dokanai Suva with a team from the Police Special Response Unit deployed around the southern, central and eastern divisions. Naisora says the roadblocks will remain until Dutt is recaptured and people are being asked to be patient. 3 men are now in custody at the Namaka police station in Nandi for allegedly raping a 17-year-old student. The men are aged 20, 18 and 16. Police spokesperson Ananay Sora says the incident happened at 4:30 a.m. yesterday. The suspects have been interviewed as investigations continue. Nesora says the force is committed to ensure that the lives of the vulnerable, especially children, are protected during this festive season. The force is sending out a strong warning to would-be offenders that it will not tolerate crimes of this nature. Fiji is preparing to return to democracy in 2014 and the government has committed $12 million in next year's budget for this process. The next step is the appointment of the Constituent Assembly after the completion of the Constitution Commission's work. These and other commitments were brought up at the Australia-Fiji Business Council meeting.
A draft constitution will be handed to the President in early January by the Constitution Commission.
Following which a Constituent Assembly would be chosen, which will debate the draft constitution before finalization and adoption, and of course the President bringing that into effect. We hope at the latest by March or April of next year.
The government has set aside $1 million for the Constituent Assembly. Part of the $12 million budget for the Elections Office is for the continuing electronic voter registration and buying materials for the 2014 elections.
We've also allocated, for example, $1 million for the refurbishment of Parliament, for it to be ready for the 2014 elections, additional funding for Hansard reporters to be brought back from various other government departments to retrain them, and others that may need to be trained altogether.
Syed Qayyum highlighted how past elections had allegedly been rigged while speaking at the Fiji-Australia Business Council forum this afternoon.
There was a space between the lid and the body of the box, so people could slip in ballot papers, additional ballot papers. These are the sort of anomalies we want to eradicate, because essentially if you don't have these foolproof systems in place, materials in place, then obviously it questions the credibility of the election that's supposedly elected under a system, the electoral system.
These businessmen and women have been told that Fiji is at the brink of some drastic changes so far as politics is concerned. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
The government's import tax holiday for the bus industry has seen another set of new buses brought in. Rewanga Buses Limited recently purchased 2 new buses from China, costing the company around $400,000. Mika Longa reports.
The 2 Golden Dragon buses are the latest addition to the Rewanga Buses new fleet. Earlier in the year, the bus company bought its first air-conditioned bus from Indonesia.
This is what we've been, talking about. At one stage, we've been talking about phasing out of buses, retiring of old buses. There are lots of, things that we have been discussing with the bus operators. But you can see that they are slowly coming into this, and we're so happy. It's all for the public.
The new buses were launched last night at the Novotel in Lamy. Also present was LTA CEO Naisa Tunadev, who says they have set a benchmark on the standard of buses to ensure the safety of the travelling public.
We're just here to support what they've done. It's a big investment for the country, and it's something for the travelling public, to take pride in.
My intention is to change all my fleets and get a better service in this country.
The LTA wants to see all old buses phased out and replaced by fleets of international standards. At the same time, it wants the public to act responsibly when using the services of the new buses.
The bus operators are doing their best to bring good buses, but then the public, they've got to look after these buses. Take full ownership. It's for them.
After 5 years of driving for Rewanga buses, Aminiasi Rock is one of the drivers given the honors to drive one of these buses. Well, he's tested one of them, and this is how it feels.
Run too good, too well.
Nikolonga, FBC News.
Pacific Fishing Company, or PAFCO, is looking to turn around losses suffered in the first half of the year. Huge supply problems during the first 6 months of 2012 are easing off. Shireen Lata reports.
2012 wasn't very good for PAFCO. Chief Executive Bhan Singh says raw materials were hard to source and this weakened the business.
Fish is a seasonal commodity. It depends on the catch and depends on the fish situation in the fishing waters that we get our fish from.
However, operations are getting back on track and the company is seeing some profit. Employees who were laid off some time ago are back at work.
There have been lots of ups and downs. You would be aware that last year we had closed for more than almost 6 months due to issues we had with the US FDA. And at the beginning of this year, for almost the first 6 months, the fish supply, which is the raw material supply to the plant, was not very consistent.
With a $240,000 grant under the National Export Strategy, PAFCO hopes to upgrade its facilities in Levuka. Shireen Lata, FBC News.
After the break, being your own boss, micro-business owners who wouldn't have it any other way. Welcome back. The Housing Authority says now is the perfect time for people wanting to own a home to take a bold step. Incentives have been announced in the 2013 budget to make it easier to buy or build a home next year. The Housing Authority says it's ready to assist.
The VAT refund scheme is the biggest incentive for anyone wanting to own a home.
Now, the VAT refund scheme will essentially mean that for new homeowners who actually build a new home for the purpose of living in it in the next year will be able to claim a VAT refund if they build their home up to the value of $120,000.
The Housing Authority says this is timely since lots at Tadirua Stage 2, Wainimbuku and Waila City will be up for sale from next year. The refund scheme will encourage first home buyers. $25 million from the Reserve Bank is now also available for people in need of affordable loans.
What the loan essentially means is we'll be able to effectively target low-income earners. So this is about people that earn about $16,500 and below. This initiative is targeted at ensuring that they have access to affordable financial services.
The loans is specifically for low-income earners who want to buy a land or a home in 2013. Vosita Kotiwaswasa, FBC News.
The Housing Authority is now looking for a panel of local consultants in order to increase the number of housing projects undertaken around the country. The consultants and technical experts will provide high-quality advice and oversee different aspects of upcoming projects. Housing Authority is now looking for companies and individuals who specialize in architectural designs, town planning, geotechnical investigation, and other similar roles. All this has to be done before new projects begin next year.
Now, these are consultancy firms as well as technical individuals that have the capacity to consolidate the work that we're doing in Housing Authority. So we're looking at geotechnical experts, we're looking at hydrologists, we're looking at water engineers to come on board as part of our panel of consultants.
For some, there's no better joy than being your own boss. Self-employed businessmen and women are happy with their sources of income, saying it couldn't be better. Mika Longa visited the supermarket today to speak to determined individuals who wouldn't have it any other way.
Meet Amichand. He's been doing this for 22 long years. The money he earned from selling ice cream enabled him to give his children a decent education and live a happy life with his family. As sole breadwinner, Chand couldn't find a better job than this, where he's beaten all the odds.
I'm having a good exercise too. And my stomach is going inside now because I have good exercise.
Inokendango sells these bananas to meet his family's daily expenses. He's been a farmer all his life, and 69 years on, Dango is still strong as ever. He plants and sells ndalo every week, earning his family more than $400, which is enough to meet all their expenses. The lanky man from Navutu Nitasiri says the key to his success is abstaining from drinking cover and smoking. Kelere Wakatebue sells seashells for her living. Although she does this once a week, Wakatebue told me people with resources shouldn't be living in poverty. What she earns from here feeds her family and is enough to meet obligations to the Vanua and the church. With only a year to reach 70, Ndango is surprised to hear for the first time today that an ordinary villager like him can also be a pensioner. And his advice to Itoke youth who fallen in love with the bright lights of the city, return to the village and find the treasures above. Nicolonga, FBC News.
The Style Fiji fashion show has been hailed as a major success, so much so that it's exceeded the fundraising target of $100,000. On the runway, the models, designers, international and local personalities contributed to making it one of the best shows. Christopher Chand reports.
Putting in the finishing touches behind the scenes, the stage set, and out came the Diamond Decade Girls, followed by models showing off the work of our local designers. Adding more profile to the event were rugby league legends Brett Fittler and Andrew Johns, showing off some Australian style.
It raises our profile tremendously. They really got into the spirit of things. They themselves directly contributed to raising over $10,000. It was just fantastic, and they really were very supportive. I'd like to think we can maybe be able to get them back next year.
The event has managed to raise close to $130,000. There were auctions, some shaved their moustache, and some offered to shave their heads.
We had people like Lenora Garigari Tambua offering to have her hair cut for $10,000. In fact, I think it got up to over $30,000, but $20,000 of that was against having a haircut. So people just continued to contribute all night. It really was a very successful night.
The committee will now wait for a wish list from Nandi Hospital to buy things that they desperately need.
We'll set a list of priorities as to what they require to improve their facilities further, and we'll continue to work down that line and continue to support them now that we have the finance behind us, and growing finance too, to make this a much better facility.
The fashion show is over. Now it's time to turn the attention to the Nandi Hospital and whip it into shape. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
In sports tonight, Dubai Sevens loss leaves fans asking questions. And snooker players vying for a spot in the national team to Oceania Championship. A disastrous performance in the Dubai Sevens has seen Fiji drop to second on the IRB Sevens points table, behind New Zealand and tied with Samoa and Kenya. Fiji lost 8-5 to France in the Cup quarter-finals before being smashed by Wales in the plate semi-finals 27-5. Shalvin Chand has more.
Fiji Sevens assistant coach Timothy Waningolo says all of Fiji's games were riddled with errors, which saw them lose possession and points.
That's weaknesses that we haven't got a ball in the line out. We lose our line out and the kick-off. That's when they work on that. And that's we can win the game if we get the balls and make it to the line, to make it a score. That's why we got the lose yesterday. We haven't got much ball. and we never use the ball to make that try.
FBC rugby commentator Graham Eden was in Dubai. Eden believes changes are needed at the helm of the Sevens team.
Derry is not the man for the side, and I think that it's proven itself last year when Derry was there with Edward Wonga. When Wonga took the team on his own, he had them playing well. When Derry went with the team, it was all messed up. Well, it is repeated.
Eden watched the team train before Dubai and says he knew then there was nothing special about them.
The fact that we had so many non-playing rugby players in the Sevens, it's two different games, and it proved itself that it was part of the deal as well. There were only four who were capable, and that they bore the burden, but they alone were not enough.
Fiji will now travel to Port Elizabeth for the South Africa Sevens, pooled with New Zealand, England and Scotland. Shalvin Chand, FBC Sports.
Fijians aren't happy with how we showed at the Dubai Sevens. FBC Sports spoke to some, and this is what they had to say.
Game last night was really bad, and they should improve in the line out, set pieces, defense, and it was like lack of commitment in the ground.
Their defense is very weak, and they need to improve on their line out. Get the ball and score. Fiji is capable of having capable of being a very better team, and very unhappy with their performance in these Dubai Sevens.
They should use the same set of players they used in Gold Coast Sevens. It will be better for them, rather than changing the players over and over again when they go into different tournaments.
Unless they have to change back to the original team, the Gold Coast team. I don't see any improvement coming from our team.
Oh, it was very poor, and I think the Gold Coast team should have been instead of this team.
Top snooker players battled it out this afternoon, hoping to make the cut for the Oceania Championship early next year. The Fiji Billiards and Snooker Association is hoping to pick the best and lay stake to being the #1 in the region. Shalvin Chand reports.
These snooker enthusiasts at the Merchant Club in Suva are hoping to move up the rankings and make the cut for the Oceania Championship.
Players are trying hard because Oceania Championship is the one the players want to participate in, and the Fiji Billiard and Snooker Association will be funding that tournament. Then it will be quite nice for the players' exposure and for the future of the development of the game here.
Players came prepared and were ready to give the old hands a run for their money.
At the moment I'm in number 5, and if I try to pull this tournament, I may become #1. See?
Young players are hoping that more youths can be enticed to join the sport.
So it's encouraging for us to introduce new players as well. There are few other players, upcoming players. It's good to see young interest in the young players in the sport.
This year has been good for snooker. Regular competition has ensured that players stay on, and with the Oceania Championships next year, the parent body hopes to make it big in the region. Shalvin Chand, FBC Sports.
Keep the new sports facilities affordable and accessible. That's what Fasanok has to say after the government announced more funding to develop the national stadium and build new facilities in rural and maritime zones. Shalvin Chand spoke to Fasanok, who say building facilities is only a small part of sports development.
Fiji is on the verge of having a world-class sports venue. Fasanok feels the only way this will help sports in the country is if it's made accessible to all.
The important thing is, who are we building the facilities for? Are we making it accessible to them? Or are we becoming a profit-orientated organization, and our interest is the bottom line?
Fasanok is hoping that with the National Sports Commission, an idea mooted by them would take effect.
National development officers, they go from school to school, community to community, paid for by the government, and all they do is one individual will promote 4 or 5 sports.
There is also a call on the government to look more seriously at issues affecting sports.
I mean, we say sports in Fiji is compulsory. How many schools turn their sports period into an extra class? And yet sports supposed to be compulsory, PE is supposed to be compulsory. It doesn't happen. So having a plan is one thing. It's like building facilities, but making sure that you implement, use, get maximum use out of it is the challenge for us.
There's a worry among sporting bodies that the new facilities would be accompanied by higher prices. Fesenok is hoping that government stays true to its word about helping sports grow. Shalvin Chand, FBC Sports.
No big change in weather over the weekend. There was some sun in parts of the Western Division and even in the capital, despite expectations of rain. Mombasa had a high of 33 degrees today and other centres followed close behind. The start of the working week will see fine mornings in the west with afternoon or evening showers around the country. For Tuesday, the forecast is cloudy periods with some showers over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands. Afternoon or evening showers are expected elsewhere. Now recapping the headlines, alleged getaway driver in BSP robbery escapes from Nosori Correction Centre. Business community told that budget allocations for the elections are a show of commitment to 2014. And Housing Authority says now is the time for first home buyers. Take part in the FBC opinion poll. The question, should the All Blacks play test matches against Fiji? To answer, visit www.fbc.com.fj. That's all from FBC for now. I'll be back next weekend, but do remember to send newsworthy pictures to Citizens' Eyes at fbc.com.fj. Modemanda.